remember the first time I saw myself on film playing, I was like, what the?
It changes your perspective.
Yeah, I was like, dude, there's no way I look that bad.
Yeah.
Look, I'm athletic, I'm coordinated, I can't
That's
pass.
how I run.
Yeah.
I thought I was checking my shoulders. I thought all this stuff.
Yeah, no,
But it makes you change real quick.
It does,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
It does. A lot of things click a lot
Oh,
more
you
quickly
can't
when
hide
you're
it, man.
seeing it. Yeah,
Yeah.
no hiding.
You can't hide
Yeah,
it.
you can't hide from what you're seeing. You can think back to last weekend's game and be like, oh, wasn't that bad. I played pretty well.
Yeah.
But then when you're having to rewatch it and you're like, whoa.
I made 1 out
It
of
can
50
also
passes.
go the other way too, where you think
That's
you
true,
just
yeah,
played
yeah.
horrible, and then
Yeah.
you go back and watch the game, you're like, oh, I wasn't half bad, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
For
exactly.
sure. That's more often what I see,
Yeah.
especially with, I think, coaches and players that are pretty competitive.
Yeah.
We're often way more hypercritical on ourselves when you're thinking back. Obviously, the mistakes are highlighted in your head. All of the good things, the small things you're doing, you don't think about that very much. And then you go back and watch, you're like, oh, this actually was better than I thought, especially as a coach. When you get to relive it, you're not as emotional, right?
Yeah.
When you're in the game, there's a lot of emotions. Your perspective is changing.
You look at it more from an objective point
Yeah,
of view.
exactly. And it's good to like give some of that positive feedback to the players as well.
Yeah,
like
true.
it's good to show mistakes, like that I think sticks with people really well. But then to be able to show what you're doing well, this is what we want to replicate more and more.
Yeah.
And that like starts to really ingrain in players' minds, especially nowadays. Like all the kids now live in a digital world. They live on tablets.
Yeah.
Everything is visual. Everything's Instagram, short form. Like you have to make it digestible for the players. How now, round now.
Classic.
What is this, 49?
I think so, man.
Yeah.
They're all blending in.
All right, day 2 at the United Soccer Coaches Convention here in Philadelphia. This is episode 49, and we got a lad on the show today.
Absolute lad.
Played with both Evan and I in college. His name is Ryan Kennedy, and he now works for Trace Soccer, based out of Austin, Texas.
What's up,
Ryan,
fellas?
Thanks
What's
for being
up,
on,
man?
man.
Of course, yeah, of course. Good seeing you guys out here. It's funny we got to come across the country, hang out.
Yeah,
We
right?
both live in the same state. So that's cool.
It is what it is.
I came to you last, though, right?
That's true. No.
No,
I'm from
Dallas, yeah.
I come to Dallas.
World Cup,
way more.
right?
World Cup.
Oh, yeah, true.
US,
Yeah, yeah.
England.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fair. Yep.
Great game.
But no,
Not
yeah.
really a great game, actually.
I mean, we got the point.
It was
We needed
alright.
that,
We got
yeah.
a point.
It was
We got
better
a point.
for the U.S. than for English fans.
So Chris is just getting pissed off the whole time.
Yeah. I know, the English guys were upset.
Yeah,
but
yeah. For
we'll
sure,
take
for
it.
sure.
Definitely. So, Ryan, why don't you just give people a brief background on yourself? Obviously, you played in college with us, but why don't you fill people in on from college to now getting involved with Trace?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like you said, played in college with you guys for the 4 years at West Texas, which was great. Super fun experience. And then after college, went on, was trying to keep playing, kind of keep progressing down that professional player path, which is a grind, as always. So I went up actually to Philadelphia. I played for it's kind of like a second, third division team up here, which was fun. Did that for 2 years, bounced around on a few trials with like USL teams, and then eventually just ended back in Austin, kind of wrapped up, decided it was time to hang the boots up, started getting a little too tiring, needed to start making more of a living, moving on to the next step of life. So then I kind of started working in different sales roles, stuff like that, and I ended up at Trace now where I'm at, and so now I get to work back in the soccer industry, which is awesome, super exciting, and in tech, which is really fun, so I get to combine a lot of interests and still be involved in the sport, which is great. But yeah, so that's kind of where I've been at now. Been there for almost 2 years.
2 years.
Enjoying it, yeah, getting to see.
So you started around was it kind of just after COVID?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, just after COVID, maybe like 6 to 8 months after COVID.
Okay.
Like really like got bad and like the full lockdown, things were like we were starting to come out of it. If you remember when there was like the huge freeze in Austin, in Texas, I started like the week after that with Trace.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been there for almost 2 years now, coming up on the 2 year mark. And
how old is the company?
so Trace, I mean, the like grassroots of Trace goes back. I mean, they've been working on the software for 8 to 10 years. It's been in the makings, but like actual like on the market product, probably 3-4 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so it started, and I did some work contracted with them for like ECNL Houston. I did some tournament stuff way back when they were really early on as well.
Oh, nice, yeah.
And yeah, so it's been really cool seeing how like the product has evolved, especially for Trace, but in just the whole product landscape and video analysis in youth soccer has just totally evolved where, I mean, when I was playing, I don't know if I have a single game filmed from my youth
now it's
career.
just a normal thing. Like it's just part of like what you provide as a club or a coach, to your players.
Yeah, I remember back then it was just like if you were lucky enough to have someone like a parent on your team who was rich enough and had a camera or anything like that, and then you could always find people on like I don't know, like Facebook and other stuff like that where you actually send them the video, tell them your number, and they'd chop it all up for you.
And all I had in high school was literally just like our team manager had a camcorder and a tripod. We'd go to the highest bleachers at the stadium.
You gotta find that hill.
And have to like track it on her little camcorder and horrible footage. But then you got to go back and look at it and cut it all up. And it was, like a whole season you get maybe like a minute's worth of actual highlights that you can use.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I even remember like being in like the library at WT working on that with you because you had to help me do mine. Yeah.
Dude.
All
a
that
lot
stuff.
of work. Yeah, in college, like that was when I really started. I think using film was more in college.
Oh yeah, you had to. Yeah,
a little bit, but not much. And then obviously in college, putting together highlights, coach would get us in the locker room, and even then it was like super old school. Put the game up on the screen. We had like Butch had his laser pointer, and he was fast forwarding. We were sitting there for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. It was like, man, it was rough.
Was it when he yelled at that girl in the AC because she couldn't get it right?
Yeah, half the time the person that was doing the film had messed it up.
They left the cap on the lid.
They left the cap on the lid. Or all the problems that people have faced for years, and probably why it wasn't used that well. But now, obviously nowadays, tons of new technology and video making it way more accessible. But yeah, it's super exciting. It's cool too, coming from a place where I poured a lot of hours and time into trying to make the video usable. Like even just to get recruited, to try and keep playing, to learn about myself as a player. I remember the first time I saw myself on film playing, I was like, what the?
It changes your perspective.
Yeah, I was like, dude, there's no way I look that bad.
Look, I'm athletic, I'm coordinated, I can't
That's
pass.
how I run? What is happening? I thought I was checking my shoulders. I thought all this stuff.
But it makes you change real quick.
It does, It does. A lot of things click a lot more quickly.
You can't hide it.
Seeing it. No hiding.
You can't hide it.
You can't hide from what you're seeing.
Yeah, exactly.
You can think back to last weekend's game and be like, I wasn't that bad. I played pretty well.
Yeah.
But then when you're having to rewatch it and you're like, whoa.
I made 1 out of 50 passes.
It can also go the other way too, where you think
That's true,
you just played horrible, and then you go back and watch the game, you're like, I wasn't half bad,
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. It was actually a decent performance. It could have been better, but
for sure.
It wasn't as bad as I maybe originally thought.
That's more often what I see, especially with, I think, coaches and players that are pretty competitive.
Yeah.
We're often way more hypercritical on ourselves when you're thinking back. Like every game, obviously the mistakes are highlighted in your head. All of the good things, the small things you're doing, you don't think about that very much. And then you go back and watch, you're like, oh, this actually was better than I thought, especially as a coach. Like as a coach, if I would finish coaching with the kids, I'd be like, God, like we didn't do anything we've been talking about in training for the last 4 weeks. But then sometimes you go back and watch, you're like, oh, actually, you know what? This is better than I thought.
Yeah, for sure.
Those bad moments stick out so much more heavily in your mind, but then when you get to relive it, you're not as emotional, right? When you're in the game, there's a lot of emotions. Your perspective is changing.
You look at it more from an objective point of view.
Yeah, exactly. And it's good to like give some of that positive feedback to the players as well.
Yeah,
true. It's good to show mistakes like that I think sticks with people really well. But then to be able to show what you're doing well, like look how well we did this progression, or look how well we built out of the back here. Like we've been working on that all week.
Yeah.
This is what we want to replicate more and more.
Yeah,
that,
for sure.
Starts to really ingrain in players' minds.
Yeah.
Especially nowadays. Like all the kids now live in a digital world. They live on tablets. Everything is visual. Everything's Instagram, short form. Like you have to make it digestible for the players.
Yeah. So those early days that you started working with Trace. So I know obviously another teammate of ours, Aiden, worked with Trace. And I remember when he first started working with them, he had posted some videos of his own games playing. And it was almost like a little bit of research and development that he was using that for. Were you involved in that stage of it too, where you were trying to like test out the product a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, the product's always getting tested. It's always evolving. So, there's a lot of that. My brother works with the team, and so we'll do a lot of product testing, and it's pretty cool. But, yeah, we use it for, like, our indoor team. We've used it on our men's league teams and outdoors. And so you get to see how it evolves that way. And it's cool because even now, like, I don't do any analysis on myself. I'm done trying to improve as a player. I'm in a men's league, beer league now. But even for us, when I get my highlights kicked back to me, I'm stoked just to watch them. Or like all the guys are like sending little clips to each other.
Dude, it's funny, man. Yeah.
So it's like it's kind of an interesting tool to get to enjoy.
Oh, for sure.
That's why I think Trace is really nice too. It's not just for the elite of the elite teams, like the younger teams, the parents that just want like little Johnny's highlights to share with grandma and grandpa that didn't make it to the game. You just get, your kid's highlight reel kicked back to you, and you can share that out at a click of a button. You don't have to go searching through an hour long of game film to try and clip out that like one or two awesome passes or goals that we're trying to find.
For sure.
So I think like that's kind of what separates you guys from your competitors, and you can probably, I would like for you to speak more on this. I've used Trace for my team. We use VO now, and not trying to say that it's better or anything, but like from my perspective as a coach, I think VO just made more sense for right now. But my players all really enjoyed Trace, right? And so it may be something that we switch back to. And in fact, it's probably something that I'm leaning towards for next year. So I guess from your side of things, what do you think differentiates Trace the most from your biggest competitors?
Yeah, and I mean, it's honestly what you said. It's the players, right? Especially at the youth level. Like, VO does a good job at what they do. I think they have a lot of great tools for coaches that are really invested, like yourself. You put a lot of work in. And so it's good. The coach can jump in, be very analytical. They do a lot of that, and they try and share with the players. But then at the end of the day, also, from the player's perspective, I'm growing up. I'm a 15-year-old kid. I want to see me. I want to see what did I do good, what mistakes did I make, how can I share my highlights with friends, how can I share my highlights with college coaches, and what's the easiest way to do it? Because right now, I can open my phone and I have Instagram, TikTok, everything's like curated for me exactly. It's at the tip of my fingers. That's like how they're wired. So with Trace, that's the feedback we get from players. Like every time players and parents, they love it because it's what they want to see in the game. Like it's really made for them. And then if you have the players that are engaging with their own footage that way, where it's like you're not having to sit everyone down, hey guys, everyone sit down, we're going to sit down and do this film session, where they're not as bought in, when it's more exciting. It's like one-on-one, personalized. Like I can pull up your playlist. We can go through 3 awesome highlights you had last game, 3 a couple mistakes, how do we improve those? And I was able to do that in a minute, 2 minutes without me having to go search and find that. That resonates with the players and the parents a lot more. So that's the biggest differentiator, truly.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, it's I think especially in the youth space, we're here for the players. Like we're here to help them grow, help them improve, help them get to the next level. So a lot of our feedback and how we build the product is more centric on you as a player. How can we help you? And then of course giving coaches the tools that make it easy for you as a player to make that done. And it's like some tools, but how much can we take that work off of your plate? Like how much can we reduce? Because again, as a youth coach, I have 3-4 teams that I'm coaching. We go on the weekend, we play 4 or 5 games. I get home on Monday. For me to sit down and have to start putting in the work to create the video and make it digestible for players, it's hard. It's a very big investment. So how can we reduce that as much as possible? So that's like in one way, the biggest difference.
So for someone who has never even heard of Trace or doesn't know anything about any of the video technologies, like what are those tools that you're talking about, right? Like what does the platform look like? What is Trace? I mean, it's as simple as you're getting your games automatically filmed, which that's pretty widespread now. Similar to VO, like they all have the automatic filming, which will happen. You throw the tripod up, that's great. No one has to man the camera. No more mom leaving the lid on the court or watching the game and not even paying attention, like not following at all. That's all taken care of. But then after the game, you don't have to worry about getting a 90-minute game kicked back to you and figuring out what to make use of. It's your highlights directly in an email. You click it. I have all of my highlights captured, ready to go. So it's just as simple as that. That's really and
all
also,
it is.
so each player has their own profile, which has a playlist of not only all their highlights within a particular game, but then all of their games listed out as well.
Yeah, you'll have like
it's like a whole database.
ID.
Okay.
Yeah, every player has we call it a Trace ID. They get to go in. They can look at all of their highlights from the course of the year. They can look at all of their individual games. They can save. They just kind of click a save button. Goes into whatever playlist they want. For coaches, you can assign almost like homework playlists. Then you can go in and they can utilize it that way. So it makes it really digestible and easy for them to engage and interact. Same with the parents.
I think for recruiting purposes too, it's a really useful tool because you can then just send links directly to coaches. And they can just flip through kind of all of your games and find what they want to see a little bit quicker.
Yeah, it's super easy for them to find the highlights, and then even better, they also have all of your full games there. So I see Johnny, his highlight reel is awesome, right? Like most players' highlight reel is pretty awesome.
But let's see what he does off the ball.
Yeah, what does he actually look like in a game? Now I can go in, I can watch all of his highlights, all of his clips from any given game. I can watch maybe 10 or 15 minutes of a game.
Yeah.
So now I have a lot more context to the
sure,
player as opposed to me, like I see Johnny's YouTube video. Now I'm calling Sean, like, hey, Sean, Johnny looked pretty good. Do you have half a game you can send me? Or, like, what's he like? Are you guys going to be at this tournament?
Yeah.
Are you guys going to be at the showcase? It kind of reduces the friction with all that.
For sure.
That makes sense.
So I guess I would say, where do you see, I guess, what's like the next big advancement that you see Trace making in the next couple of years?
Man, I don't know. Like, they're always trying to push the boundaries, and it's always about making things easier. Like, how can we reduce friction in the market, reduce friction for players, for coaches to utilize the system? So it's always trying to push the boundaries there. We're always trying to make things faster, right? How can we get highlights back to you quicker? How can we get games back to you quicker?
I feel like that's probably the main thing y'all can do, because at a certain point, like, it's just going to go like, what, no sensors and then just a smaller, faster camera? Because you're going to have the camera regardless. So it's just a matter of probably proving that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Camera technology is crazy.
Oh,
I'm sure it'll be – I'm excited to see, honestly, like what happens the next 3, 4, 5 years, like how everything evolves, because everything's changing.
Yeah.
Like now, one of the more recent ones we do now is a feature called multicam, where now parents can take their cell phone and you can set it up on tripods at any angle around the field, and that'll sync with Trace. It'll still automatically edit, assign that footage, stitch it all together. So now you almost have like a sports center mode of all of your highlights, right? So now if I'm a goalkeeper, I could put a phone behind the goal, and I have that angle. Yeah, I can see all my angles. I can see it from my defensive third, from the corner. And now it'll automatically switch between angles depending on what is the best vantage point.
Okay, and you can also manually pick which angle you want to see.
You can change and pick which view you want to see.
Okay, cool.
And you can have 3, 4, 5 parents all doing it. And again, they can either like film a quick little bit and it'll stitch, or a lot of them will put it on a tripod or like an iPad and set it up, let it run for the game. They get home, it uploads, and everything's done for them. It gets sent back, and now you have that multiple angles that they can go back and review.
Very cool.
Yeah, I didn't know about that. That's really cool. Yeah.
Is there anything beyond that as far as maybe analytics or any other kind of like value that is going to be added to the Trace platform?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're trying to change a lot of things. I think they're trying to, again, make everything more personalized, have different ways for, I think, camera to be able to follow players and be more individualized and personalized. So I think that's always going to be big. Again, I think a lot of it, too, is going to be like, how can we make it faster? How can you get your highlights more quickly?
Just take what you're already doing and just making it more efficient.
Yeah, more efficient, faster. How can we make, of course, always, like, how can we get the video quality higher? How can we make the picture look better? All those little, like, incremental steps that can hopefully improve it will be a big part of it as well.
And I think that's probably a good way to approach it instead of trying to, like, do what other people are doing, other companies, because Evan mentioned this last night. It's like, it seems like everyone just in that space, they just one-up each other and one-up each other and one-up each other. And it's like, okay, well, now you guys all just provide the same thing. So then it's just comes down to preference. Whereas, like, if you kind of take a different path and are like, no, we're just going to be this, then you're going to be able to retain the ones that really just are looking at it from that perspective and just want that, what you guys offer. And then there's no competition, really.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's all about differentiating in as many ways as possible. And, really having a different angle. In a lot of ways, like with Trace and some of the other competitors, I think even the vision that each company has is very different. Like, kind of like the end goal, we're going to different destinations. So as that continues and furthers, I think that'll start to capture certain clubs and certain teams and what they want to focus on, and maybe others feel like the other one's better for them. But yeah, I think it's much more going on your own path as opposed to like a rat race, all doing the same thing.
Right. So who would you say is like your target market, like within the soccer industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think youth soccer is the main. The youth players, youth clubs all across the country, making it as accessible for them. Like, we want to make kind of what professionals have. They have access to, obviously, great cameras. They have video analysis on staff. They have all these different tools that are very expensive, takes a ton of resources, takes a ton of time. How can we give youth players access to that kind of experience, but not have to spend that much money, not have to have staff members dedicating full jobs just to breaking down footage? How do we make it more adaptable to the youth market and give them that kind of benefit?
Yeah, because I think it's all about catching up. Because I mean, even we talked like with the Barca guy yesterday, or obviously time stamping this, but what I was getting at was like you can see plenty of highlights from like youth training in other countries. Like they record everything. They record all the games and all that. And like you said, they have a staff there that actually does it all. And so, I mean, if we're trying to catch up to the rest of the world in the sport, which I mean, I think we're slowly getting there, it only makes sense that we start doing it video-wise as well, even at a young age for them. And this definitely makes that a lot easier than having just some dad do it in their garage after they get off of work one day.
That's for sure.
Yeah, I think you guys are doing a good job. Like, you know, it was nothing personal switching from, you know, Trace this past year.
That's all right, man.
Honestly, if
a little bit of beef.
if it was personal, I would have just stayed because obviously we're friends.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know the people that you work with as well. And I don't know anyone that I'm working with at VO. So, you know, in that sense, like there is that personal touch that you guys offer. And it seems like you guys are headed in the right direction and or headed in your own direction. To, you know, really carve out like your space that can't be touched. And so, I'm looking forward to seeing like, you know, what new advancements you guys make, and most likely you'll be getting a sale from me in the summer. So
I'm swapping hoodies by the end of this trip.
Yeah. Hey, we can do it, man. Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys having me on and excited to get you back. Like I said, you see a lot of that in the space, right? People want to try out different things.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we always hope like, can we bring them back and they see this is the right place for the team, for the players? So we'll be excited for it, man.
Yeah, awesome, man. Appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Big Ken. Thanks, Big Ken.